Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to show you how to install certificates into a Solarwinds IT Monitoring Server. Okay, so in order to do this, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need some kind of Solarwinds product. In this case, I have the Network Performance Manager installed on this Server 2016 machine. But whether you're using the Network Configuration Manager, NetFlow Traffic Analyzer, or IP Address Manager, all these servers essentially exist on top of the Orion's platform, so the process of installing certificates into that server will essentially be identical. We're also going to need a CA server to issue certificates. In this case, I have the role of Active Directory Certificate Authority installed on this Server 2012 machine. We're going to be using OpenSSL to create private keys, certificate sign requests, and also PFX files, and I have that installed on this Linux box right here. Okay. So the reason why we're creating that PFX file, or the reason why we need to, is because that's essentially the file that this server is going to expect when we import the file into this server. It needs to have that .pfx file extension. And this stands for Personal Information Exchange, and this is essentially an archive file that contains multiple cryptographic objects. In this case, we're going to basically be including into a single file a private key and identity certificate and also a root certificate. Okay, so right now I currently do not have any certificates installed on the server. You can see that the connection is not secure. And of course the problem with that is that anybody that's doing any kind of reconnaissance on the network, well, they can capture those credentials. They can see the username along with the password. And after that, they can essentially gain valuable information about your network and even do a lot of damage to your network. So we want to avoid this. So we're going to change this. So I'm going to go over to my machine that has OpenSSL installed on it. Okay. And I'll start by making a directory to work in, which will be the CA directory. I'm going to create some subdirectories, one for base64 encoding, another for private keys, another for certificate sign requests, and then also one for PFX files. Okay. I'm also going to modify the OpenSSL configuration file. I'm going to scroll all the way down to where it says rec_extensions, which is right here. Okay. And I'm also going to scroll down a little bit further where it says v3_rec. And I'm going to add a line to this file. And the line I'm going to add is subject alt name equals at alt_names. And the reason why I'm adding this is because I want all of my web browsers to trust the sites. And one of the things about Google Chrome is that it does require a field within the certificate, and that field is subject alternative names, in order for the web browser to trust the certificate. So you can enter in the fully qualified domain name of the server, as well as the IP address that represents that site. Okay, that looks good. And now we will create our private key. So OpenSSL, and we are going to use the gen RSA tool in order to do that, and specify the encryption, AES 256, and then the output file. We will call this Solarwinds private key.pem and specify the modulus length of 2048 bits. It's going to ask for the password. You'll have to enter that twice. If you want to take a look at what that key looks like, you can with the cat command. And we can see that we are using AES 256. Okay, so here's our private key. All right, so now we're going to create a certificate sign request using the rec tool. It's going to be a new request with the key that we just created. And we will go ahead and output that certificate sign request to the certificate sign request directory. Call this Solarwinds certificate sign request.pem. Enter in the password that we used when creating the private key. And here you can just follow the on-screen prompts and enter in all of your identity information. Okay. All right, so there's the certificate sign request. And now what I need to do is I basically just need to open up that certificate sign request. Copy it. And then open up IIS, where I'll drill down to where my cert server is located. Browse on port 80. Okay, request certificate, and click on Advanced Certificate Request and go ahead and paste in that request. Because this is a web server, we're going to select the web server template and click Submit and download that in the base64 encoding. Okay, you can see it's been downloaded right there. I'm going to scroll back, and I also want to download the root certificate. I'll be using this for a later purpose. Okay. All right. So if you open up that, oops, this one actually. Okay, so you can see here's my identity certificate. Has all the information that I included within the certificate sign request, along with the subject alternative name. Okay, I'll just go ahead and rename this and call it Solarwinds. Here's my root certificate. Okay, you can see that it's been issued by and to the same server. It's essentially a self-signed certificate. Okay, I'll just call this root MS12. And now I need to take both of these certificates and transfer them back over to my machine that has OpenSSL installed on it. Because what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be creating that PFX file. Okay, so there they are. And they are in the base64. Okay, so we're going to need this identity certificate, the root certificate, and then also we're going to need the key that we used when issuing the certificate sign request. Okay, so these three things right here. All right, so To create that archive file or that PFX file, we're going to use the PKC12 tool, and we're going to export all of the contents to a single file using the export command. We'll go ahead and start with the identity certificate, and that is in base 64, and then Solarwinds certs, followed by the key that was used in creating the certificate sign request, the private key. So that's in root CA private, and that is Solarwinds private key.pem. We also need the root certificate, so we're going to use cert file, and then the root certificate is in the base 64 directory, root underscore ms12.cert, and then finally put it all together into this single file, which we'll put in the PFX directory and call this solarwinds.pfx. Okay, it's going to ask for the password that you used when creating the private key, and then it's going to also ask for the export password. We need to enter in this password just to use this file. Okay. All right. So there's our single file that contains all three of those objects. All right, and I'm going to move that over. Solarwinds PFX. I'm going to move that over to my share. Okay, so that I can access it from my MS16 machine. Okay. All right. So we'll browse for that certificate, which is in my share. Enter in the password, that export password. And we're going to select web hosting from the drop-down list. Click OK. Okay. So now we need to essentially bind the certificate to the server. So I'm going to click on binding. And I'm actually going to use this port number 8787. So let me just remove that. And now I'm going to create a site binding where I have HTTPS access using the IP address of this server, and then bind that to port 8787, and then select that PFX file and click OK. I'm no longer going to be using HTTP, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Click on Close. And then I need to open up the database manager. Okay. And we're going to scroll all the way down to where it says websites. Right here. And click on Query Table. Okay. Give that a second to load. Execute the query. All right. And we need to change some things in these columns right here. So we're going to click on Edit the table, and I'm going to change the server name to the, oops, is it letting me do it? Hold on, let me see this again. All right, there we go. And change this to the fully qualified domain name, the IP address of the server, and then where it says SSL enabled, we're going to click type 1 to enable SSL. Hit enter. Okay. And now I'm basically just going to restart the server. Okay. So this is going to take a little bit of time. So we'll just wait for this to actually start back up again. So it's going to take some time for the server to restart, which shouldn't take very long, but the process that's going to take a little bit longer is for the Orion web server to start, and that can take an additional 3 minutes or so. So let me just make sure that everything is running okay. And actually, one thing that I do need to do, so I'll go ahead and do that right now while that server is running, is I need to import the root certificate into the Firefox web browser if the Firefox web browser is going to trust that site. Okay, so go ahead and click on Options, Privacy and Security, scroll all the way down, View Certificates, and we're going to, let me make sure that I don't have that certificate already installed. Okay, doesn't look like it. Okay, so I'm importing the root certificate into the Firefox web browser, and I want to trust this CA to identify the websites. And click OK, and click OK again. All right. So, so like I said, this virtual machine, because the Solarwinds server is requires a lot of resources, it's really kind of killing my host machine right now. But I'm just kind of going to wait for that to sort of calm down a little bit before we browse to that site. Okay, let's see if we can hit it now. Still might take a little bit of time, but oh, I forgot the port number. Hold on. And then 8787. All right. Sixteen local. Okay. So we're good. We have the secure connection this time. We can see the details there. I scroll down to where it says subject. You can see all the details that I included in the certificate sign request, along with the, let's see here, looking for the subject alternative name. Okay, that's included as well. So let's make sure that Chrome is trusting it. Yep, and so we have Chrome open here. So it's valid there. Let's go ahead and do one more test. '87. Okay. So that looks good. All three web browsers are trusting the certificate: Internet Explorer, Google, and Firefox. So that pretty much does it. I hope this has been helpful. Have a good day.